Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. Now that my two obligatory informative videos are done for the day, it's time to talk about current events in the online fitness community. And I've been linked a video of Kinobody, aka Greg O'Gallagher, aka the Bruce Wayne of the fitness industry. Of course, I'm the Bane of the fitness industry. Hi Greg, I was wondering what would breakfast, the spirit of your body. So, I'm just going to flip in the video right here. Damn, Greg. So let me put on my plus out of weaponsmithing, work on skilling up my crafting a little bit, and let's talk about this. In this case, people are going to be like Jason, being a hater. Actually, I'm not, because in this case, I actually want to see. I want to see Greg successful, and I want to see him do this without getting hurt. I have a vested personal interest in Greg reaching a 400 squat and a 500 deadlift. People say, why? Why do you care? I thought you dislike him for selling supplements. I thought you dislike him for not training his legs. That's correct. And it looks like he's taken my criticism on board. And again, there's always back and forth between he and I down in my comment section sometimes. Looks like he's taken my criticism on board and he's actually putting forward the effort to train his legs now. So I don't want to undo the good that I've done there. All right, I don't want to undo that, because when you see someone who's got a big outreach, who's teaching guys to not train their legs, you criticize him for it and he starts training his legs, and then it will get more guys, a lot of his followers, squatting and deadlifting who might not have otherwise. Everybody wins. That's a good thing. All right, that's a good thing. It looks like he's admitted that he's wrong on the leg training stuff. Hasn't said he was wrong, but he's just started training legs and just ignoring the old stuff he said about squats and deadlifts. All right, he's just ignoring it, and he's doing the right thing. I'll accept that. I'll accept that. So I can't hate on that. But what I want to see is for him to be successful, and I want to see him do this without getting hurt. There's some problems here that need to be corrected, right? They need to be corrected. First of all, you guys saw that bench slide with a weight that's heavier than he can squat. That's not good. That was almost an accident. That almost went really, really bad. And we need to talk about that for a moment. We need to talk about someone like him who does have a history of lower back injuries. And I believe he said that that's one reason he chooses the box squat. Get off the high bench. Get off the bench. You cannot box squat on a bench. I don't care how many goofy-ass bodybuilders you see doing it. Look at every strength coach who programs the box squat. What do they tell you? Parallel is your high box. Parallel for a box squat is usually going to be about 13 inches. Here, I'll flip mine in. I run my boxes at 13 inches. That's where I run, because that's a parallel box usually. I believe that's normally pretty much the standard, either 12 or 13 inches. That average bench is 18 inches high. You're 5 inches high. A lot of people say, well, why does that matter? Well, it matters because it lets you put another 40 or 50 pounds on the bar. In some cases, you might be able to put 100 pounds more on the bar. What you are doing, what you need to remember on a box squat, one of the benefits of the box squat is that you can use a lighter weight to get the same amount of muscle stimulation. All right, that matters when you start getting strong. From a programming perspective, that makes a big, big deal. The fact that you, number one, break up the eccentric-concentric chain. Number two, because you're breaking up the eccentric-concentric chain and it's really hard to get the weight started out of the bottom, you're forced to use a lighter weight to get the same perceived exertion and to get similar levels of muscle fiber recruitment, which is what we're looking for. I mean, that's how we get stronger, guys. That is where strength comes from, muscle fiber recruitment. It allows you to use a lighter weight. When you go to the high box, which that wouldn't even be a high box, it's higher than a high box. Because a lot of times the lower box is even better, right? Parallel's good, but some people run as low as like an 8-inch box, a 6-inch box, off the floor. Compare that to the 18 inches where he's at. You're going the other direction. If you have the mobility for it, the low box can be fantastic. like off of a 6-inch or an 8-inch box, that can be fantastic if you can structurally do it correctly. All right, here's the problem we run into with what he's talking about. So I like the bench because it carries over better to my vertical. No, it really doesn't. It doesn't. That high box, what it's doing is you're going to end up risking hurting your back because you already had that problem with that posterior pelvic tilt where you're rolling over and humping the air at the top. All right, you've seen a lot of people say, including myself, you've seen coaches out there saying, don't do that. Don't do that because you're losing tightness in your back, right? You're letting your lumbar around, you're letting your pelvis roll forward at the top. Don't hump the air at the top. Don't do that. Again, you're going to risk injuring yourself. You're going to risk pulling an erector more. If you already have a history of that, that's going to be a problem. All right, that's already an issue. Then you're coming down and hitting a box squat with a weight that's too heavy. Because here's the difference. When he was doing a normal box squat, what was he working with? 315 for reps? Because it's 375 for reps when he's on the bench. Go to 375 when he's on the bench. All right, that's too heavy for him. He can't handle that. Had he gone too low and pushed that bench out of the way and dropped all the way down, he would have fallen backwards with that weight. Hurt himself. But again, let's go over to the point. You're compressing your spine with more weight than you can handle and then touching the box. Also, because you're going to be used to squatting lower, if you squat regularly or you squat on a box squat or you do any normal squatting, you're going to squat lower than that. You're not going to be trained correctly to decelerate, to touch up there that high. So you're going to end up hitting that pad too hard. And the problem is you're hitting that pad too hard potentially with a weight that's too heavy for you because you can do more weight through the shorter range of motion. You do more weight through the shorter range of motion because it's easier. You have mechanical advantages. So you end up having a lot more weight on your spine than you should have there, and you have to have that rapid deceleration when you hit that box. You are putting more compressive stress on your spine that's necessary to reach your goals. That's kind of the point. The box squat might have its risks with the lower back if you hit too hard, but you're also using less weight compressing the spine than you normally would because you can't box squat as much as you can normally free squat if you're going to the correct depth on both. So that's the issue you run into there. And what he needs to factor in, what is it Greg always talks about? The carrot-shaped thighs. Well, high squatting is one of the causes of that. Go look at the EMG data that's out there. The deeper you go on the squat, the more the lower quads get activated as opposed to the upper quads. So by squatting high, and if you're going to squat onto a bench, you're at least 5 inches high. Right? You're at least 5 inches high. It's not a little bit high, it's at least 5 inches. Pretty much a half squat. You're going to disproportionately build your upper quad versus your lower quad. Right? That's what you're going to do. And it's not because the upper quad necessarily gets more work than it would if you went deeper, because you're going to have to use less weight if you go deeper. It's not that. It's that the lower quad just doesn't get as much work, period. So you're basically just de-emphasizing your lower quad by short stroking the rep, by not going deep enough. In addition to the fact that going onto a bench itself has its own dangers, its own risk, you're not going to get the development you want out of it. And again, we're coming back over to ego lifting. Right, we're coming back over to ego lifting. It's like, man, if I squat to this higher box, I can use 40 more pounds, 50 more pounds. See the problem you get into before long? You start getting caught up in the game of, oh, it's just numbers, 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 and you're not even doing the full range of motion. And then you're going to start claiming I can box squat X amount of weight when you can't. Right? You're going to start thinking that you can box squat X amount of weight that you can't, and then you get challenged to actually box squat to a different box. It's actually the correct depth. You're going to find that you don't have the strength to do it, and you're going to hurt yourself. Because what you don't want to do is hit a box with a weight that's heavier than your one rep max. There'll be problems with that. You don't want to hit the box like that, particularly if you have a history of back injuries because of that jarring stress it's going to put. You need to be able to control that touch. And I'm not saying you need to have a slow control eccentric, because you can come into the box relatively hard, but you do need it to be a soft enough touch when you get there that you can just sit back into it, right? You need a soft enough touch that it doesn't hurt the spine. If you jar off that box, that's where you can hurt yourself, and you need to be aware of that when we're dealing with the box squat in terms of that. And so again, you get into this habit of doing boxes that are too high, using too much weight. you're risking your spine and you're not even getting the benefit. Because we come back to the point of partial exercises don't produce as much muscle growth. They don't produce as much strength, even when you use a heavier weight. So we're coming over to all risk, no reward. And for Greg might be saying, well, I don't have the low enough box. I'm just using the bench because I don't have a box that is low enough. Use plates. That's what I do. Stack up plates. Stack plates till you get to the correct height. It's the best way to do it. Problem solved. Alright guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.